Theresa Eregi Girls High School has been closed after students demanded to go home following a mysterious outbreak that left about 90 students hospitalized for a disease characterized by paralysis in the limbs. Now, the students will return once the situation is assessed and measures put in place to prevent a repeat of the same. But the school has not been completely shut down because about 500 students are still attending school. Now, some people have criticized that move, saying that despite the fact that they're still investigating the cause of the illness, these students should not be found in that school area. But anyways, joining us to discuss this, we have Maliba Arnold, a public policy analyst in Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you so much, Arnold, for joining us. Maliba Arnolds, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Thank you for joining us on the show.
Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Now, Arnold, this illness remains a puzzle, and health experts are investigating the cause of the illness. But what exactly is it pointing to at the moment?
Having lived in this country, I think it's not entirely new to see such occurrences, especially in the third term, because somehow during the third term, students get a little bit, there's always the tension because of the final exams. But I'll actually stick to this particular incident and actually say this, that so far, 5 tests have been done and there is no pointer to any disease. So it's not up until this point, the doctors say this is not anything you would say that is affecting the students directly with the body, but rather a psychological one. The doctors so far have pointed out that this is mass hysteria, whereas each and every one of those students might have their own problems. They say it's stress related. And we've seen similar circumstances in the past, not really every year, but we've seen such in the past where, and specifically in girls' schools, what the government has done in the past, of course, has been to ensure that there is no visiting by parents in third term. In Kenya, parents don't visit schools in third term because that is when we have got national exams both for primary school and secondary school. They've done away with what used to be the prayer day because normally preachers would come in and push kids with a lot of messages that make them a little bit of jelly or emotional. So the prayer days that used to happen in third term to pray for students going to do exams, both at primary and national level, have been done away with. But somehow the third term, here national exams have got a lot of premium to it because it determines which high school you'll go to or which university you're going to or the college you'll actually attend. So there's normally too much stress related to that. So in the past instances where we've seen such, it's always been in the third term.
Okay, Maliba, you have talked about this not being new. There's been these kind of incidences in the past. I remember a time ago in another Kenyan school where a strange cough, there was an outbreak of a strange cough and they had to shut down the school. But is this a pointer to the fact that the government needs to pay more attention to these schools, especially in terms of health?
That is true, but again, if you walk back and see when there was a strange cough, when students were coughing, one, you'll realize it was a girls' school. Again, you'll realize that it was third term. The doctors so far that I've actually seen and I've been engaging them in other forums, spoke to this being stress-related. They called it mass hysteria. During the last time when we had that strange cough, again, there was no pathogen that was found in all the tests that were done. But I would like I've already mentioned, again, remind you that there's too much stress. So the mental wellness is one of those areas that our education system really needs now to focus on. Because in an education system where it's so much results-based, we are trying to move away from what we used to call merit-based education system, where we take the best and trying to come up with something we call the CBC or competence-based education. Still, we are a country that is obsessed with outcomes of exams, and third term is when you see this drama coming up. It's not, of course, a light thing. It gives parents a little bit of quite some concern. And the parents have spoken to, including 2 classmates of mine that were actually supposed to join you, but one of them is actually traveling, who have got students in that particular school. They realized that when they got there, the students had one thing on mind. The students wanted to go home. So for whatever reason, whatever the source of pressure, each and every one of those students might have their own problems, but what the students wanted was to go home. And sometimes back, we actually had violence in schools, especially in third term, when students will end up burning schools out of pressure for the exams, some of them feeling like they are not prepared yet. You've been in school for 4 years and it doesn't feel right. Then being teenagers, there's a lot of pressures that come with discovering themselves. There is quite a new world of looking at things. And now with the realization that they are almost turning into adults. So true, the government needs to check out on health, but for me, it's so much psychological. Mental wellness is something that really in Africa, we've really not taken it seriously. And helping for mental health support, sometimes we are looked at as a weakling. But you see, once this comes out, these are actually pressure points, and we need to actually, as a government and as a people, to actually focus on this more, rather than actually, again, gale over this, and then we will actually be having another one. I already mentioned to you that what happened, especially in boys' schools, during this in third term, is that they will ban school so that they go home. We need to relieve the students from the pressure, specifically performance pressure to perform, because once you come out of high school and you've not performed well, no one wants to go back. It determines so much. If you don't pass, then you are not going to get the university of your choice course. And in this country of ours here specifically, the Form 4 exams, the fourth year, the exams you do in your 4th year in high school, literally determines how your life takes shape. Then, of course, we've worked around ensuring that motivational speakers do not go to schools in third term, because that is normally, again, it used to be a source or a trigger where either kids get emotional and there's a little bit of hysteria, or out of it, they become violent after the message and the preaching. So we've really tried to stop this. Ensuring there's no preaching, no prayer days, no motivational speakers going to school in third term, ensuring that parents do not go there, because once a parent goes in, they could do something with their child and then it affects the entire class, then you have got such like outcome.
All right. Now, for the tests that we're expecting, we're expecting the results. How long do you think that will take? And why exactly are there still students in the school?
First of all, there are already results of the 5 tests so far done, specifically blood-based. The blood works worked out 5 tests taken, and there's been no pathogen that is common to all of them. Most of them do not have anything in the blood. Within their blood works, you don't see anything that actually points to any disease, specifically the disease that would be found in within the physiology of a human being. So then, of course, the conclusion now is that this is a psychological issue. It cannot be treated the way, of course, parents are looking at it. I also do not think that out of the 5 tests done, of course, they were to be related with them. Again, a parent who I spoke to, who is a former classmate of mine and a former Special Forces soldier, told me that a lot of those kids really, once there was a camera focus on them, they got into them. The others, and that is a bigger population, where there is no focus, they didn't have these shaking and dancing and going out. For those who are not in the spotlight, it wasn't clicking, it wasn't starting. The others who actually are well and working out. So you can't close school. Again, being Africans, of course, there is the idea and the temptation to try say this is spiritual. But if you've been around long enough, then you realize that it is stress-based. Being teenagers, all of them have got different problems at that particular age. But parents who have been there insist that those outside of focus weren't actually doing this. So I think we need to handle it as a stress issue. And we've seen this in the past. At least as a country, we've seen this in the past. We just need to actually up. It's not actually funny that we will always wait for this to happen and then get back. Because already, like you've mentioned, there's been one, and I can actually point you to a number of them. In the last 10 years, I think I've seen 3, 4, 5 instances like this. The manifestation might be different, but the times and how it works out, normally you will find no disease in the bodies. So what we have always been doing is that send the children home, allow them to relax, and then come back. We have got 2 weeks to the main exams to start. for the grade 6, doing the very first national exam at grade 6, and then there is the class 8, that is the last one, and then of course in less than a month we will be having the Form 4 exams. So, and this has been a pattern, of course, in the past. We need to look into this and do away with the pressure we actually put on these kids.
I mean, it's just worrying, and very quickly, that this level of stress is, I wouldn't say imposed, but is being prioritized in schools. I mean, you have said that Kenyan schools are obsessed with the result of exams, but I think that, you know, they should raise an alarm, because if the stress is what is doing this to these kids, then something has to be done about it, don't you think?
We really, as a country, we've really tried to work around this. Over time, we stopped grading schools, ranking, not grading, but ranking schools. In the past, of course, students would actually, as they head to the exams, then the pressure, the competition, and everything else. Nowadays, we stopped ranking schools to just ensure that the need for pressure from especially parents and teachers as kids get to exams is done away with, so that then we just grade individual students, but not say this school performed this way, this particular region performed this way, because that was the way we used to do it. You would actually start with the smallest unit. In this particular instance, you will talk about wards, constituencies, provinces, districts. So there was quite some pressure on even areas where you talk about, you guys talk about states, we will talk about counties, talk about this is how this county performed in this particular exam. So we've done away with school ranking and regional ranking and just left it to students, to individual ranking, where you have no pressure to feel like we didn't perform well as a region, we didn't perform well as a school, but then of course each and every student knows how they performed. That has been done. Of course, we've tried to work around that. Like I mentioned, we also did away with motivational talks, prayer days that ended up being too emotional during the period towards exam. And then when parents visited schools, they tended to overcompensate. Somehow, as kids head to exams, parents sometimes try to do much more than they've done regularly. And as they do that, the others pick up and it causes this problem. So it's something we are working on, but looks like we've not cracked so well.
All right, public policy analyst, Nairobi, Kenya, Maliba, Arnold, thank you so much for joining us to discuss this.
Thank you.